Namaste friends, I am Jayalakshmi Ravichandran signing in on behalf of Magic Needles. This day I am here with numeral 2 as filet crochet. The basics of filet crochet and how to work chainless foundation DCs are available as separate video links in the description box. This filet crochet we begin with 61 DCs, that is 20 solid squares, and the second row and the third row have one solid square on either side with 18 open squares in between them, and the fourth row and all even rows are read from left to right and worked. All odd rows are read from right to left and worked. So this is the fourth row, one solid square, 6 open squares, 6 solid squares and 6 open squares, and then one solid square. Fifth row, one solid square, 5 open squares, 2 solid square, 2 open squares, 4 solid squares, 5 open squares and 1 solid square. The sixth row, 1 solid square, 7 open squares, 3 solid squares, and the rest are open squares, and then end with a solid square. The seventh row, 1 solid square, 7 open squares, 3 solid squares, and then rest are open squares ending with a solid square. Eighth row, 1 solid square, 9 open squares, 3 solid squares, 6 open squares ending with a solid square. The ninth row, 1 solid square, 6 open squares, 3 solid squares, the rest are open squares with 1 solid square at the end. 10th row, 1 solid square, 10 open squares, 3 solid squares, 5 open squares and 1 solid square. The 11th row, 1 solid square, 5 open squares, 2 solid squares, 4 open squares, 2 solid squares, 5 open squares and a solid square. 12th row, 1 solid square, 5 open squares, 3 solid squares, 3 open squares, 2 solid squares, 5 open squares and 1 solid square. 13th row, 1 solid square, 5 open squares, 3 solid squares, 1 open square, 3 solid squares, the rest are open squares with 1 solid square to end. 14th row, 1 solid square, 8 open squares, 4 solid squares, and the rest are open squares with a solid square to end with. Row number 15 and 16 have 2 solid squares on either side with 18 open squares between them, and the 17th row is a row of 20 solid squares or 61 DCs. Thank you friends for watching. Have a nice day.